What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Light That Penetrates Open Eyes. The Light That Penetrates Open Eyes will consist of a series of essays on metaphysical psychology. All of these essays are original concepts of my own and backed 100% by facts. For all of you that are looking to develop some form of weightlifting routine, feel free to utilize what you see in this video. You're guaranteed to see results. Source Data Engineering, Part 1. Source data engineering is a depiction of the functioning mechanical basis that underlies the structure of our scope of existence within the solar system, to which is derived from a origin that precedes it in the time of creation and renders forth its order of an arrangement within the universe from a point that is an inextricable link in a systematic design that can be traced back infinitely. Source data engineering. Data is defined as facts or information. Information means what is conveyed or represented by a particular arrangement or sequence of a thing. A piece of information that is true or can be verified. Most of us are aware of how the ancient monuments in Egypt were aligned with celestial bodies. Source data engineering displays the macrocosmic, microcosmic relationship that is shared between the universe and ourselves. The source data engineering formula proves that how the solar system was formed, the sun's processes, and our internal drives all have the same functioning mechanical basis that underlies their structure, which displays absolute alignment. I labored over this design for days upon weeks and months a few years ago, only to uncover the true potential of its meaning today. Embarking the revolution of the light that penetrates open eyes, metaphysical psychology essays. I've spoken of the embodiment of momentum by the pineal gland, resistance to potential by the brain, potential by the heart, and acceleration by the solar plexus. These are the four fundamental factors instrumental in the creation of the universe that tie into our vital organs through the manner in which they function. My next essay is on how the universe was created. I've also mentioned how potential accelerates momentum. Though I know how the universe was created began through resistance to potential, a fact that I've come across in my early stages of deep thinking about the subject matter. And source data engineering aligns with this, which means that the heart through the solar plexus accelerates that which is exhibited through the pineal gland, which means that this is happening every day, but we are unfamiliar with this even being a process. I will begin in this essay proving this through the connection there is in other processes of our mind and body that substantiate that if there is at least reason to believe there is a process that functions in this manner that aligns with source data engineering, then before it is actually proven, once all of these vital organs are elaborated on, we can expect to see that this process is another one in the same that emulates source data engineering. Also, and thus marks the validity of it taking place. In the near future, source data engineering will be the example in which we are able to make complete sense of how to engineer our true human potential. Ancient Egyptian mythology stories have symbolic ways of depicting actual events and times of history. So, in spirit of this and metaphysical psychology, let's begin. As the story of source data engineering goes, we have the neutral degree and value. The neutral degree exacts no limitation in its potential of becoming equable to anything. Value is a distance marked by no stretch of time. Value, a distance marked by no stretch of time, is too far ahead of the neutral, accomplishing becoming equable to it. So much that the infinitude of there never being a possibility is exact to point and is rigidly set into the neutral structure and thus ability to function any further. Therefore, resistance is displayed through value. There's resistance displayed by the neutral also, wherein it will never quite but yet continue to proceed in trying because this is a point. So the neutral was stopped, but the neutral is ramifying the stratification. And with time, the neutral's resistance reaches a height that's higher than the interim. So it's equal in resistance at this point, reaching a height that's higher than the interim. Resistance means that something inside of both the neutral and value is absolute, meaning nothing can take away from the complete nature of its observance in the element that it exists in another by effect. At this point, the neutral has become equable to value. Then value reaches a rate that lapses back forward because it's equal, because it equals the resistance therefrom, being above the point of the limitation. The only thing is that the gain is incremental because the neutral has already acquired a range in becoming equable. And an incremental gain continues, wherein the neutral becomes more and more equable to value, with value consistently reaching a rate that lapses back forward, equaling the resistance, and therefrom being above the point of each limitation until the neutral becomes equable to value's furthest extreme. The formula and measure of source data engineering is as follows. Number one, neutral degree, difference per rate. Number two, high rate, value per rate. Number three, the terminal point, rate per value. Number four, Low register, value per difference. With regards to how the solar system was formed, we have to view the formula of source data engineering as the entire process from beginning to end. So even though there is a trickling effect of source data engineering from how the solar system was formed to the processes of the sun down to our internal drives, I will begin with the processes of the sun in connection to our internal drives. First, to show how relatively easy it is to understand and see how source data engineering ties into how the solar system was formed. Almost as an example would, but this is a real living depiction. Neutral degree, difference per rate. Neutral means possessing no distinctive quality or characteristics. Degree means amount, level, or extent to which something happens or is present. So the neutral degree renders the aspect of no distinctive quality or characteristic to every other function of the processes making up the sun. And this is the inward force of gravity that causes the core of the sun to contract, increasing the temperature and pressure of the sun's core, to which initiates nuclear fusion, the fusing of hydrogen atoms to form helium, which releases the tremendous amount of energy that produces thermal pressure, the outward force of gas pressure, which balances the inward force of gravity, thus maintaining the sun's stability. This displays difference per rate. Rate is defined a quantity or amount measured in respect to another. Well, you have the inward force of gravity meeting the outward force of gas pressure. Initially, gravity dominates, causing the core of the sun, which is made of gas, to contract. And this leads to temperature and pressure rising significantly, wherein hydrogen atoms collide with enough energy for nuclear fusion to occur. Hydrogen nuclei combine to form helium, releasing energy in the process that produces an outward force of gas pressure that balances gravity. But wherein gravity dominates is required for the sun's stability. And this is what is meant by difference per rate, or the neutral degree. Value per rate value means something that is useful. Rate, a quantity or amount measured in respect to another, is a depiction of nuclear fusion. Due to the inability of the outward force of gas pressure to balance gravity adequately. If the outward force of gas pressure can't balance the inward gravitational force, the core will contract further, increasing the temperature and pressure until fusion occurs. This balance is crucial for the sun's stability and continuous energy production. Value per rate is the high rate, a depiction of the inward gravitational force. Against an inadequate amount of the outward force of gas pressure, causing pressure and temperature to rise in the core of the sun for more hydrogen to fuse with hydrogen to produce helium, an aspect of nuclear fusion. Rate per value is the terminal point. The terminal, which is defined of forming or situated at the end or extremity of something. This is a depiction of the energy generated from nuclear fusion that produces thermal pressure, the outward force of gas pressure that balances gravity. Value per difference is the low register. The low register meaning when there isn't enough hydrogen to fuse with hydrogen in the core of the sun. Just as explained and as it goes. And this is how it happens again whenever there is not enough hydrogen to produce nuclear fusion. The formula of source data engineering depicting our internal drives is quite evident in the symmetry beginning with the neutral degree, difference per rate. So the neutral degree renders no distinctive quality or characteristic to every other function of the processes making up the sun. The neutral degree, difference per rate, again is a quantity measured against another quantity. So as we've said initially, gravity dominates, causing the core of the sun, which is made of gas, to contract. And this leads to the temperature and pressure rising significantly in the core of the sun, wherein hydrogen atoms collide with enough energy for nuclear fusion to occur. Hydrogen nuclei combine to form helium, releasing energy in the process that produces an outward force of gas pressure that balances gravity. But wherein gravity dominates is required for the sun's stability. And this is what is meant by difference per rate in comparison to our internal drives in psychology. An internal drive is a state of arousal or discomfort triggered by physiological or biological needs, such as hunger, thirst, urinating, and defecating. These drives motivate behavior aimed at reducing the discomfort and restoring balance or homeostasis in the body. Homeostasis means to maintain body functions within livable ranges, adjusting to internal and external changes. Maintaining homeostasis requires that the body continuously monitor its internal conditions to sense when things are out of balance. Bodily functions have set points around which normal values fluctuate within a range. In a negative feedback loop, a stimulus, a deviation from a set point, is resisted through a physiological process that returns the body to homeostasis. Therefore, the neutral degree, difference per rate, is also exhibited through negative feedback loops. And again, the neutral degree, difference per rate, this is any time at which gravity dominates the outward force of gas pressure that contracts the core of the sun made of gas, which increases its temperature and pressure to the point where nuclear fusion occurs and generates the energy needed to produce thermal pressure, an outward force of gas pressure that balances the inward force of gravity required for the stability of the sun. Our internal drives are consistent with the neutral degree / difference per rate, whereby it is necessary due to the biological or physiological changes that occur in our bodies, to which are vitally important for us to respond in a manner that brings about the proper balance for the stability of our well-being. And homeostatic mechanisms maintain equilibrium by way of negative feedback loops. Value per rate. This is something useful per a quantity measured against another quantity. The significant increase in temperature and pressure in the core of the sun to produce nuclear fusion, when gravity's inward force causes the core of the sun to contract, is a depiction of the high rate. Value per rate is exhibited by how nuclear fusion is produced when gravity's inward force causes the core of the sun to contract, and thus a significant increase in temperature and pressure in the core of the sun. This is a embodiment of a response in the sense of fulfilling the need, such as hunger, thirst, or etc. So a quantity measured against another quantity correlates with the point, wherein which we have fulfilled a particular need measured against the state of arousal or discomfort triggered by a physiological or biological need. With homeostasis, negative feedback loops have four components: a stimulus, sensor, control center, and effectors. The effectors are muscles, organs, or other structures that receive a signal from the brain or control center. When a effector receives a signal from the brain, it changes its function in order to correct the deviation. Rate per value. The terminal point is consistent with the equilibrium that's restored to these homeostatic mechanisms, which aim to keep internal conditions stable and balanced. And once again, terminal is defined of forming or situated at the end or extremity of something. Remember, rate per value depicts the outward force of gas pressure, which balances gravity being produced by the thermal energy that is generated from nuclear fusion. Here we want to look at rate defined as a quantity measured in respect to another. Value per difference. The low register is embodied by a stimulus, just like an inadequate amount of hydrogen in the core of the sun to produce nuclear fusion. Internal drives of the human body are essential for maintaining homeostasis and our overall well-being. So, wherein there are various systems and feedback mechanisms within the body to maintain balance and support survival, a stimulus, in contrast with equilibrium, is a direct portrayal of low, stable internal conditions, just as an inadequate amount of hydrogen in the core of the sun to produce nuclear fusion. One of the most common theories of how the solar system was formed equates to the story of source data engineering, as well as the formula and measure of it, beginning with a star that stops burning its own fuel, which equates to the stopping the story, that is to say, the neutral being stopped by value from becoming equable to it. So we have to view how our solar system was formed macrocosmically. So the neutral degree renders the aspect of no distinctive quality or characteristics to every other function of the process that will produce our solar system. So difference per rate is displayed by a star that stops burning its own fuel. Rate is defined a quantity or amount measured in respect to another. Difference means a change in anything. So when a star exhausts its essential fuel, gravity causes the star to collapse and thus results in an explosion. And this is what is considered most commonly as a supernova that causes density fluctuations in a nearby molecular cloud. Now, the other common theory of how the solar system was formed, difference per rate is displayed also in order for the next step in the process of how the solar system was formed to take place, and without the aspect of a supernova is as follows. So we must delve into what produces the extremely cold temperatures of a molecular cloud, because the cold temperatures of molecular clouds play a crucial role in star formation. In a molecular cloud, de-excitation of carbon monoxide molecules occur through inelastic collisions between carbon monoxide molecules and hydrogen molecules, wherein these excited carbon monoxide molecules return to their ground state or lowest energy level due to an emission of photons. And if the emitted photon has enough energy to overcome the cloud's opacity due to dust and other particles, it can escape the cloud. This escaping photon carries away energy from the cloud, contributing to its cooling. So here we see a difference per rate. The difference is the the difference is per a quantity measured against another quantity, which we can tie into how the cooling of the cloud is incumbent upon if the photon that is emitted by the carbon molecule has enough energy to overcome the cloud's opacity due to dust, wherein, again, the escaping photon carries away energy from the cloud, contributing to its cooling. Dust grains keep interstellar gas clouds cool by absorbing the energy from both gas grain and UV radiation. Dust can cool the gas efficiently, efficiently, because dust grains are solids, so they are thermal emitters. However, dust is only able to cool the gas if collisions between dust grains and hydrogen molecules occur often enough to keep them thermally well coupled. Thermal is defined as related to heat. Thermal emitters release heat. Dust grains simply heat up and cool down, and hydrogen molecules in a molecular cloud are extremely cold. Dust grains and molecular clouds absorb radiation by shielding the cloud from UV radiation, allowing temperatures to become low and limiting ionization of species within. This dense, cool cloud can then collapse to form new stars. Dust grains also block light more effectively at small wavelengths, preventing UV from penetrating the cloud easily. As you can see, difference per rate can easily be tied into these examples of how dust grains cool clouds. It is very consistent across the board. If I really look, I see brief instances of the neutral being stopped by value in the other theory of how the solar system was formed. Now, it's exhibited wherein if the photon that is emitted by the carbon molecule has enough energy to overcome the cloud's opacity due to dust, and again, the escaping photon carries away energy from the cloud, contributing to its cooling. Because the neutral degree is the escaping photons, also whereby dust can cool the gas efficiently because dust grains are solids. So they are thermal emitters, which means they emit heat. They heat up and cool down. However, dust is only able to cool the gas if collisions between dust grains and hydrogen molecules occur often enough to keep them thermally well coupled. Hydrogen molecules in a molecular cloud are extremely cold, wherein dust is only able to cool the gas if collisions between dust grains and hydrogen molecules occur often enough to keep them thermally well coupled. The neutral can be seen as being stopped by value and aspect of a probability. And in any chance that an adequate amount of UV radiation is not being absorbed by dust grains, the neutral degree is being stopped by value. I believe this would help anyone out there that is actually trying to decide which theory is better suited. I would prefer the theory of the supernova because there is less of a chance and sequential measurement being based off of probability. In the story of source data engineering, what happens next is the neutral reaches a rate that is higher than value, which is symbolic of value per rate, which is consistent with the shock wave from a nearby explosion of a supernova, destabilizing a gas cloud. The shock wave from the nearby explosion compresses parts of the nebula, causing regions to collapse under gravity. The shock wave from the supernova causes local density fluctuations in the gas cloud, which means there's a increase of gravity to these specific regions. What is meant by this is small pockets of gas and dust become isolated and dense enough to form clumps in the molecular cloud. The dense cores of clumps can reach temperatures and pressures high enough to trigger nuclear fusion. Clumps and molecular clouds are regions with higher density where dust and gas cores reside. These clumps are the beginning of star formation if gravitational forces are sufficient enough to cause the dust and gas to collapse. The high rate is equivalent to clumps, the regions of the molecular cloud with higher density where dust and gas cores reside that evidently cause the collapse. Here we definitely can see that being that there are regions of high density in the molecular cloud, there is a quantity measured against another quantity, and to which causes the collapse of the molecular cloud, exemplifying value per rate. Rate per value. And the story of source data engineering is depicted when this dust cloud collapsed. It formed a solar nebula, a spinning, swirling disk of material. At the center, gravity pulled more and more material in. Eventually, the pressure in the core was so great that hydrogen atoms began to combine and form helium, releasing a tremendous amount of energy. And with that, our sun was born. Matter further out in the disk was also clumping together. These clumps smashed into one another, forming larger and larger objects. Some of them grew big enough for the gravity to shape them into spheres. Becoming planets, dwarf planets, and large moons. In other cases, planets did not form. The asteroid belt is made of bits and pieces of the early solar system that could never quite come together into a planet. Other smaller leftover pieces became asteroids, comets, meteoroids, and small irregular moons. This is how the solar system as we know it today was formed. The sun is expanding. As the sun uses up its fuel by fusing hydrogen into helium, its core is slowly collapsing and heating up while the outer layers are growing larger. The sun is expanding. After its formation some 4.6 billion years ago, it has expanded in radius by approximately 14%, and it will continue to grow, doubling in size when it becomes a subgiant, but it will increase in size by more than 100-fold when it becomes a true red giant in 7 to 8 million years. Hydrogen is the sun's fuel. Value per difference is exhibited when the sun runs out of hydrogen and gravity causes the core to contract and fusion starts again, which exemplifies a value per the difference. And therefore the low register would embody the lack of hydrogen. Value consistently reaching a rate that lapses back forward, equaling the resistance, and therefrom being above the point of each limitation until the neutral becomes equable to value. Value's furthest extreme in the story of source data engineering is an embodiment of how the sun at some point will run out of fuel. Zero potential. We learn exactly what zero potential is and in what manner it applies to source data engineering through the following sources. The first source states that electric potential is defined as the amount of work needed to move a unit charge from a reference point to a specific point against the electric field. An electric charge is said to be zero potential when it is infinitely far away from other charges. If the charge arrangement cancels out the potential at a point, then the potential at that point is said to be zero potential. An example of zero potential is displayed through a negative and positive charge attracting because the charge arrangement cancels out the potential, the amount of work needed to move a unit charge from a reference point to a specific point against the electric field. Like charges repel each other and do not exhibit zero potential. For example, two negatives repel each other, just as two positives repel each other. Another source states in classical mechanics that gravitational potential is a scalar field associated with each point in space. The work transferred per unit mass that would be needed to move an object to that point from a fixed reference point. It is analogous to the electrical potential, with mass playing the role of a charge. The reference point where the potential is zero is by convention infinitely far away from any mass, resulting in a negative potential at any finite distance. Gravitational potential is the work done per unit mass to move a mass towards the center of a gravitational field. It is always negative because work must be done against the gravitational force to move a mass away from the center. The gravitational potential is zero at infinity, where the gravitational force is zero. Gravitational energy or gravitational potential energy is the potential energy a massive object has due to its position in a gravitational field. It is the mechanical work done by the gravitational force to bring the mass from a chosen reference point to some other point in the field, which is equal to the charge and the kinetic energies of the objects as they fall and the kinetic energies of the objects as they fall towards each other. So this coincides with how clouds of gas and dust collapse under their own gravity in the process to which is known as star formation, and also with how gravitational pressure causes the core of the sun to contract and increase temperature to the point where nuclear fusion, where hydrogen fuses with hydrogen and produces helium, and thus the thermal energy that counteracts gravity. From a microscopic point of view, zero potential initiates how the solar system was formed and is the most dominant aspect exhibited throughout the formula of source data engineering. Uh, the formula of source data engineering is as follows. Number one, you have the neutral degree, difference per rate. Number two, you have high rate, um, which is value per rate. Number three, you have the terminal point, which is rate per value. And number four, you have low register, which is value per difference. And then we have four aspects. Um, um, Potential difference, a rate combined with a degree less than point balance, and then incremental value. All right. There's more of a absolute or complete embodiment of these four aspects, wherein they are located. And that's what sets them apart from other points in the formula, even though they also can be attributed beyond the points in which they represent. Each of these four aspects exemplify how zero potential is depicted by the points and formula of source data engineering. So, in no particular order, let's start with incremental value. When we exhibit the neutral degree, difference per rate, and the high rate, value per rate. With incremental value, the smallest bit of anything is ramifiable to the extent of a sequence. And this is exhibited through time and speed. Time is an exact point by measure of a succession, and speed is the aspect of being more equal to sequential measurement. The brevity and the time and speed that is exhibited with difference per rate and value per rate engenders something that happens instantaneously. And zero potential is displayed whereby both of these points cancel in this manner. And then we have point balance, wherein we exhibit the terminal point, rate per value, and the low register, value per difference. Here, every point is equal to every point back. The terminal point rate per value, terminal defined as of, forming, or situated at the end or extremity of something. As we've been discussing in the above examples, is engendered by every aspect of a factor in these processes, coming into the complete form of an equilibrium, and zero potential is displayed whereby this point cancels in this manner. The low register value per difference engenders a point wherein there is a change in the function of the normal processes that causes subsequent sequences to bring about the proper balance, wherein this same point, once balance is restored, remains a catalyst for this type of occurrence to be repeated again to maintain balance anytime there is a change in the function of normal processes. And zero potential is displayed whereby this point cancels in this manner. We also have potential difference, which is the difference in any amount of change there is by capable means of any part in the process, wherein here again we exhibit the terminal point, rate per value, and the low register value per difference. The difference in any amount of change there is by capable means of any part in the process is displayed through the distinct function of each and every point and expression of this formula. But ultimately, every process following in time and order comes into the complete form of an equilibrium, and therefore zero potential is displayed whereby this point cancels in this manner. This would be the terminal point or rate per value. As soon as there is a change in the function of the normal processes that causes the subsequent sequences to bring about the proper balance exhibited through value per difference, the difference in any amount of change there is by capable means of any part in the process can be exhibited. But in that exact moment, zero potential is displayed whereby this point cancels as a full embodiment of enabling the exhibition. Potential difference after this point, an expression of the formula occurs in the manner of its specific function. And then we have a rate combined with a degree less than point balance. This is exhibited through the neutral degree, difference per rate, and the high rate value per rate. So this is a quantity measured against a quantity combined with less than the extent to which something happens in sequence, wherein both every aspect of a factor in these processes coming into the complete form of equilibrium, and the point where there is a change in the function of the normal processes that causes subsequent sequences to bring about the proper balance, where in this same point, once balance is restored, remains a catalyst for this type of occurrence to be repeated again to maintain balance anytime there is a change in the function of normal processes is reached. These two aspects are exhibited by way of point balance. With the neutral degree, difference per rate, clearly we see that being that the next process in the sequence is value per rate, so therefore it is a degree, the extent to which something happens less than point balance. With value per rate, where nuclear fusion is produced, say there isn't enough hydrogen to fuse with hydrogen to produce the helium in aspect of rate per value. The next process in the sequence to which there is a high probability in the case of this happening, taking into consideration the likelihood of it ever occurring in the life of the sun. This is a fact. And then we have a rate combined with a degree less than point balance. This is exhibited through the neutral degree, difference per rate, and the high rate value per rate. So this is a quantity measured against a quantity combined with less than the extent to which something happens in sequence, wherein both every aspect of a factor in these processes coming into the complete form of equilibrium, and the point where there is a change in the function of the normal processes that causes subsequent sequences to bring about the proper balance, where in this same point, once balance is restored, remains a catalyst for this type of occurrence to be repeated again to maintain balance anytime there is a change in the function of normal processes is reached. These two aspects are exhibited by way of point balance. With the neutral degree, difference per rate, clearly we see that being that the next process in the sequence is value per rate, so therefore it is a degree, the extent to which something happens less than point balance. With value per rate, where nuclear fusion is produced, say there isn't enough hydrogen to fuse with hydrogen to produce the helium in aspect of rate per value. The next process in the sequence to which there is a high probability in the case of this happening, taking into consideration the likelihood of it ever occurring in the life of the sun. This is a fact. Of this point being a degree less than point balance, and zero potential is displayed, whereby both of these points cancel in the above manner. In closing, I just want to say that the universe is a small community. Well, first, um, we have from the point of where the solar system was formed, a line back from that point in sequences to the point of the initial developmental stages and or beginning. And they're all in sequences of three mechanisms tied into each one. With the solar system, when the solar system was formed, there was three mechanisms of four factors. Um, this is the difference from the others. All of the others going back into the beginning are three mechanisms of three factors. So you will have to pick up somewhere along the lines of that to understand in calculation of every sequence going back. Um, it'll take quite some time. Um, and there are maybe millions, billions, or trillions of sequences going back. So this is like something that would have to be evolved over time and in a lineage, a heritage of people. Um, but our ancestors did cultivate this knowledge. Um, the four mechanisms of three align with a planet 444 light years away from Earth, whose revolutions are aligned with our advancement on this planet. Um, um, these are facts. Um, Scientists, professors, scholars, philosophers, young brothers and sisters, do the science, be abstinent, keep your mind clear. Meditation, trust yourself to answer deep questions and deep thought. Impress your mind religiously. Manage your neural circuits religiously. But this planet that's 444 light years away. Billy Carson recently had an interview with 19 Keys. It was um, it was on how we are aligned with the universe. It was a one-on-one conversation that they had, and um, it's a fact. Um, um, Everything is aligned in the universe. So that engineering shows that how the solar system was formed, the sun's processes, our internal drives and homeostasis um, are all aligned. Everything is aligned in the universe. How the universe was created, don't forget to look into four factors, beginning with resistance to potential. Watch YouTube videos on this. And um, we also have potential, momentum, and acceleration. Resistance to potential is the brain. Potential is the heart. Momentum is the pineal gland, and acceleration is the solar plexus. Um, for the solar plexus, look into nuclear force of quantum fields and quantum fields. When you're decoding it, when decoding the heart as potential, um, the name of the essay is heart control wave frequency. So look into wave frequency in physics if y'all want to decode the universe and how it's aligned with our organs. This is the way to do it. And once this is done, venturing off into other areas should be no sweat, but remain abstinent, keep your mind clear, stay positive, think and research. um, I spoke of how potential accelerates momentum, or how the heart accelerates that which we exhibit through the pineal gland. So what that means is that um, we source that engineering, the formula, it's exhibited it's exhibited in this actual account. Um, so look into this, put it together, um, and so you have understanding of what's happening every day. You gotta go into how the universe is created. Created. I love y'all. Um, it was fun doing this. Um, I'm gonna take a little break from it, and you know, we were here on this planet for years, and we cultivated this knowledge. We don't know how long we were here. I think sometime in contrast with how long we've been here, and with all of these other technologies, we don't know, like, from the beginning how long. I think we underestimate how long we've actually been here in contrast with how long we've been in, like, at this stage. um, here on Earth. I think I think we were here so long that, man, it was like, how could we have not developed the sciences that we have had, over and over again? And I think that it was based on how we were allowed the universe. I see brothers like 19 Keys, looking for this type of information, and I just can't. I don't know how to reach them, So if you're listening to this, I hope that you reach out to him and you contact him and you let him know that this is these are all the answers he's been looking for. He just has to delve deeper. You know what I'm saying? So, black people, man, I love y'all. Stick together. Always be upfront and honest with each other. You know, you know, don't ever tell. You know, if you get jammed up and you're in front of the police, man, don't say nothing. Keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. Don't answer any questions. Um, you know, period. Don't say anything. Just keep your mouth shut. Just don't open your mouth. Just sit there and until they take you, until wherever they take you. When you're in front of them, don't say anything. Ever. Just keep your mouth shut completely. The time will pass. Just don't say nothing. Don't open your mouth not one bit for your name, nothing. All right, because you're really not supposed to say anything until your lawyer is present. Period. Understand what I'm saying? Um, Young brothers and sisters, man, exercise your potential. Stay out the streets. You make us look like we can't do anything better. There's a whole world out there for us to, explore. Is you know, if you ever went through a heartbreak or anything like that, I want you brothers. As much as it hurts and all the feelings you feel, you might feel the person who left you's feeling. Just remember that you'll get those feelings back when you'll get those feelings back when you know you have those new feelings for another person. You understand what I'm saying? Gotta equal it. What else can I say? I want us to pay attention to the Sphinx. And our lions copulate every 2 years. They have sex every 2 years. Um, and then we have our ancestors' heads on top of the lion's body to show that most likely that they practiced abstinence. Um, but we know they did. To be aligned with the universe, they had to. So it was just like an all natural spirit energy and like the type of, I guess, I wouldn't call it religion. I think it was just everyday practice for us to be aligned like that. If it was religion, then I can see it that way too. But I love y'all, man, and just stay black, man. Just stay black, man. Um, stay positive. Stay positive. Stay in a neutral accord with things. Um, always, um, always eat healthy. You know. Um, look into ozone IV therapy treatments to cure your illnesses. Um, you know, look into vitamins, minerals, and herbs to heal your body sometimes. Um, um, you know, just try the holistic approach sometimes. You know, practice safe sex. Um, always wear a condom. Um, um, Drinking and smoking, don't drink and smoke, man. Um, don't do drugs. You don't want to distort your mind. Um, um, and this is this. I always said this was our heaven. Um, I love y'all. Um, and, this is really it. So, taking a break.